Hi, my name is Jimmy Williams with NFL Draft Diamonds. And today with me, I have another one of these diamonds in the rough. His name is Thomas Greaney. He's a tight end out of Albany. Nice to meet you, sir.
What's going on? Nice to meet you too. Thanks for having me on.
So, if people don't know, Greaney here is probably one of the better tight ends in all the FCS. Really put his name on the map actually last season, and then of course he had a chance to go to the East West Shrine Bowl, which was awesome. But before we get talking about more about you and your journey, take us from the beginning, man. Tell me where you're from, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, so I'm from Bedford, Massachusetts, which is about 30 minutes outside of Boston, a little suburb of Boston. Growing up, grew up one of five. Everyone was pretty close in age. I'm tied for second with my twin brother, who's actually training right now to be a Navy SEAL. So he was always the wrestler type, used to, beat up on me back in the day. And so yeah, growing up, we played everything, like whether it be like in the Sandlot, Little League. Like my dad played football at UMass, so he got us into football, tackle football in like third grade. Um, so growing up in a small town, I ended up being the quarterback up until I got to like high school. Was still the quarterback. Started as a sophomore, did 2 years there, but in Massachusetts, like high school football recruits aren't really that highly sought after, especially with low where I was, like wasn't in the city. So I realized I had to go to a prep school, like to get more highly recruited. Because at that time I was getting like D3s and like very low D2s, like maybe.
Mm.
And so I went to a prep school. My parents are pretty much just like, hey, like it's full ride, it's full ride or bust. Like we can't help for college if we're gonna help try to pay for this boarding school because boarding school can get expensive. So my first year there, I was still playing quarterback. I ended up like losing the quarterback battle to a freshman kid, and so that season I played like some safety. I'd never really played defense before, but I was playing at safety. And then I did like some quarterback and some tight end things. And then he sat me down in the offseason. Was like, hey, look, like if you want to be a college football player, like your best bet is at tight end. Like your size, your frame, how much weight you can put on the athlete you are for basketball, like your best bet's tight end. And I was like, if free college is free college, I'll play long snapper if you need me to. Like you got me there. So I trained all that season to become a tight end. We actually had a BC tight end on our team with us, Joey Lucetti, who's one of my best friends to this day. Yeah, so me and him were the tight ends, and going into the my senior year that summer, I'd gotten one offer from Rhode Island, and I kind of, looking back on it, kind of jumped on the offer because I was like free college, like I secure it, let's go, like I'm hyped, like I had a chance to play right away. I liked URI, was on the beach, like what's not to like, um, and so I'm committed there, kind of shut down my recruiting process, and coming about like a month before early signing day, they're like, hey, we're not sure we can get you into the school. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I like passed all the clearinghouse stuff. Like, I wasn't an honor roll student. Like, I wasn't 4.0s taking like AP classes, but I wasn't like, I didn't have terrible grades. Like, I knew kids at URI with worse grades than I had that weren't
Mm.
playing football. So I was confused. So I was like,
Maybe
what?
they
Like, my
maybe
coach,
their numbers just
yeah.
were up or something.
So, and so then my mom like called the admissions office and they found my like application. I wasn't even like coded as a football player, like as an athlete, because I guess it goes on something else. So I called my coach and I was like, hey, look, like I felt like they were trying to like get someone else instead of me and like try to whatever, like decode me. So I talked to my football coach and he's like, hey, if this is how they're going to be before you get there, like, do you really want to see what they're going to be like when you get there? And I was like, yeah. So I kind of decommitted, and that day I decommitted. They had a tight end commit that day. So I was like, that was right before early signing day. So I had like, what is it, like 3 weeks before early signing day, like in between the period. So I had that time to find a home, and I had nothing. Like everything else, like I remember UNH came to me and they're like, "Hey, we really like you, but we already offered a tight end a scholarship. If he doesn't commit to it Friday at 2:30, it's yours." And I was like, "If he doesn't take it, I'm committing on the spot. I don't care. Like I've seen UNH, like I've gone out in UNH, like I'm there. Like I don't freak out, I'm there." And I'm just sitting in like science class at like 2 o'clock, just like refreshing this kid's Twitter. I'm just like, "Come on, commit to the other school, commit to the other school." He commits to UNH. I'm like, "Fuck!" Like I don't got anywhere. UMass comes in like, hey, we liked you, but we don't have any money for you, so you got to be a walk on. And I was like, my parents are gonna kill me. Like they literally 2 years of this prep school. Like I got to get something. And Nate Bym and Coach Szynski, who's actually Coach Studs, is down to DC at UMass. Um, they saw my tape and they offered me with like a week and a half to go. I went up on a Thursday to do an official, saw the campus for 5 minutes, and was like, "Yeah, let's do it." And Coach Bynum, looking back, says like a big part of the reason why they offered me was because they saw like my safety tape and saw me move as an athlete on there, which I'd never played until I got to that prep school. So I mean, doing all that, like going through that, like not really knowing if I was have a home for a while, like that kind of fueled my fire and put a giant chip on my shoulder that I still carry around today.
Crazy, crazy story with the recruiting, man. I mean,
Yeah.
I know that that's a journey that a lot of people take. I mean, especially people always wonder, why did a guy go D3 or D2 or whatever? I mean, and a lot of times it's just like where they're from, and that's just sort of what it is. But cool. So grew up in the Boston area. I assume you were a Patriots fan growing up, huh?
Yeah, you could say that. You could say I was definitely a fan of the. I mean, what's not to like? They were winning all the time. Guys my age are kind of spoiled being a Boston sports fan because
Yes, you are.
I saw the Patriots win six, the Red Sox won a couple, the Bruins won one, and the Celtics won one. So it was like, you couldn't tell me anything at the middle school lunch tables. I was, you know,
Great. So, interestingly enough, I mean, I think a lot of guys who are Patriots fans, or even guys at your position, will always go to Gronk as like the guy that you truly want to be at the next level. But when you were growing up, man, I mean, were you even paying attention to the tight end position? I mean, who were you a big fan of growing up? Was it Brady always, or what?
I was a big fan of Brady, but back in my quarterback days, I used to wear seven because I would just love Michael Vick. Off the field stuff aside, like when he was on the field and he was doing his thing, like I remember the old Madden video games, like he was like a cheat code.
Absolutely.
Um, and then he got into the Eagles and he was gross. And him and Cam Newton, I definitely like growing up. Where besides obviously New England, like those are the two guys I kind of loved watching them play.
Interesting. I know some of your background is also that in basketball. So, talk about your basketball days in high school.
Yeah, I was a I so I when I went to the prep school, I thought like I almost kind of thought I was gonna go for basketball. I played on a great AU team, Middlesex Magic. They got guys like Pat Connaughton, Tyler Kolek for Marquette. So I was on a really good AAU team with a great guy named Coach Karate. And yeah, it turns out there wasn't a giant market for a 6'6" guy who can't really fly above the rim and has like the old school post moves. But I love basketball. It's helped me out a ton in football, especially with like the footwork. A lot of same footwork, like when you're down the post, being able to move versus when you're on the line, and then going up to catch that high point balls. Really no different than going up and grabbing a rebound, and your body positioning and stuff. And that's how like I try to use it in football is because basketball you can win with angles. If you're not the biggest or fastest guy, which I certainly wasn't the biggest or fastest guy on the court always, I'd have to play almost like like how the Paul Pierce and Luka does it, where it's all angles and body positions and how they can win. And I try to take that to when I run routes because I know when I'm on the field, like I'm not a guy with a 4.4 speed, like so I got to use the body angles and my body positions to box them out and help create that. So I mean, basketball and football has gone hand in hand to me.
Sure. And of course, you're one of the tallest guys in your conference
Right,
that
right.
are, that are receivers. So you kind of had that going for you too. So
Yeah.
what's your current height and weight these days, if you don't mind me asking?
I got weighed in at 249 and 6'6".
Nice. So 6'6", 249, obviously solid size for a tight end. I mean, and bro, who knows, man? If you would have taken like that D3 offer, you probably would have been an offensive lineman.
Uh,
So,
pro-
um,
Probably.
but obviously you ended up going there to U Albany. Talk about that school, man. I mean, being a student there, what makes that place so special for you?
For me, I just think it's the family there that you got with the coaches. Coach Bynum is he's not there anymore. He's at Stanford now as a tight end coach. He left this winter. But him bringing me in, he's someone that I've gone to with a lot of my stuff. Like when I first found out I was going to have a daughter at 20, I went to him, and he was a big mentor in my life. And also that, but like some of the guys that I met too there, like our tight end who was on the field with me this year, Ian Reniger, who you probably do an interview with him next year because I think he's going to be a diamond in the rough. we came in the same year together and we competed. And when you're competing in the same spot, sometimes it's easy to have that animosity and not really be boys with him. But he'll be one of the best men at my wedding, and just the family of guys that we got there. It might not have always translated to wins because we did not win a lot, but we tried. And just like the group of guys we got, I couldn't have asked for a better group of guys.
Well, I mean, for people who don't know, I mean, you guys play in the CAA.
Yeah,
And so that conference has a lot of great competition. And I kid you not, aside from, JMU and all that, like it used to be you never know who was going to come out on top, man. I mean, each and every
even
season, there would be one team that would win. Every team could win in that conference.
oh yeah,
That's kind of how I see it. So,
yeah. Even this year, like we had some stat going on until we played Elon this year, and they beat us by like 2 touchdowns. But every loss that we had for the past like 3 years in conference play, because obviously you play that big FBS team, and sometimes it wouldn't go our way that well. But every CA opponent we had played and lost to, it was by a touchdown or less. So like we lost to the conference champs UNH by 5, and it was just kind of like those things that you kind of run out of time. Like we had a chance, just didn't get it done, and like we would lose heartbreaking fashions, like Hampton in overtime. Our running back gets tackled at the pylon. Villanova, we're down 2 touchdowns with 4 minutes to go. People think we're out of it. We come back. We're down 12. We come back. We're up 2 or we're up 1. Then Nova goes down with a minute left on the field, a minute left on the clock, and kicks the game-winning field goal as time expires. So we were
I
right
mean,
there.
those games are won and lost, but like one
Oh,
score.
yeah, that's the thing is like, I mean, obviously if you're a fan of FCS, I think you kind of know how good the CAA is, but like just look at JMU. They moved up from the CAA and they were the best team in the Sun Belt this year by like a considerable margin. Yeah, so it's not bad football being played out there.
Oh, absolutely not. And so uh, talk a little bit more about that offense if you don't mind. I mean, I know there's a lot of great talent around you, but I mean, let's first kind of talk about like how would you describe that offense? I mean, obviously they utilize you in a lot of different facets. I mean, bro, the notes that I have on you are really the fact that I feel like you're a well balanced tight end, and don't take that in the negative fashion because I think a lot of people always want to be that receiving guy. But I mean,
Yeah.
you need to have that guy who can do it all, who can be a quality blocker and get open. But talk about that offense in general, if you don't mind.
Yeah, well, I think, a lot with this year we had the new offensive coordinator and Coach Ambrose, who I think is one of the best offensive coordinators in the country at FCS level. The way he's able to, be a leader of men and everything. But this year we had some good guys in Todd Sibley and Reese back there at quarterback. But it's just, he's going to do a great job of putting the best guys in positions to make plays. And the amount of plays we had this year in practice where like it would be drawn up like, hey, like these guys are gonna run this route, you're gonna run this, and you're gonna be wide open. And you run it in practice, like maybe like it's the scout team, we're getting a look, like of course it's open, like it's gonna be everything's open. And then you get to the game, you're like, holy shit, no, that is wide open. And he just put a lot of us in good positions to have mismatches. And I was lucky enough to take advantage of it when the ball came my way for the majority of the time. But I think a lot of it, that offense went when Reese got into training camp and he won the starting job. We had a 4-man quarterback competition. He won the job in like a week,
Mm.
and just some of the throws he could make. So just trying to get with him as much as I could and just kind of become a security blanket and try to become his favorite target helped me a lot this year.
Yeah,
But I
hang
mean,
out with him, become best friends, be like, hey, I'm
yeah,
always going to
exactly.
be open, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I like to have a lot of fun. But when I get on the field, I tend to get to be a pretty fiery guy. I get pretty competitive out there, so it was we owe it all to Coach Ambrose. Like without Coach Ambrose, I probably wouldn't be in this interview right now because I think the year before I had one game Morgan State where I had like 3 catches for over 100 yards, and that was like the first chance all year I got to like catch and run with the ball because I caught like a couple shallows. But all my catches before that were like 5 yard stick routes catch that you're getting tackled right. You know what I mean? Like the over the ball routes catch, like almost like a check down. And it's like it wasn't really to show like off any athleticism. And it's not like I've gotten like substantially better from 2 years ago to this year. Like it was just a lot. We had that offensive coordinator who put faith in me and gave our whole offense chances to make plays.
Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes the stats are misleading, man. I mean,
Oh,
so
100%.
and I think that a lot of people focus a lot, a lot on them, bro. Even myself, I'll admit to that also. I mean, it's like, whoa, that guy had so many catches or
They
so many
catch your eye.
touchdowns. I mean,
They catch your
they
eye. Yeah,
do.
yeah.
It's hey, it's what it is. You just kind of have to roll with it. But when you look at you as a NFL prospect, first off, let's park there for a second. When I say Thomas Greaney is an NFL prospect, how does that sit with you, man? I mean, how where's your mind at with that label?
It's definitely cool. Growing up, everyone wants to be a professional athlete, or I think the majority of people do, but everyone gets told be realistic, like, kind of don't have your expectations that high. And as I've gotten older, like that's something that's always been in the back of my head, like what I wanted to be, but I wouldn't always voice it to people just because, when you're in college, especially at, an FCS, the statistics of going to the NFL are even lower than even an FBS or saying it out loud. So that was something I always worked for. And I mean, it's cool, but there's still a lot more work to be done, whether it's getting drafted, getting signed, and then making the 53-man roster. So,
Gotcha.
um,
So look at you, as the prospect that you truly are. I mean, when you look at your, I guess, you know, characteristics, your attributes, what do you feel you have going for you?
yeah, I think I'm a natural born leader. I think I'm someone that the guys in the locker room will gravitate towards. I think I'm going to be one of the hardest working guys out there, and definitely the most competitive. Like I'd cut my left arm off if it meant to win a game. Like I hate losing in a race to my daughter. Like it kills me to let her win. Um, Also, that someone like, I'm going to do whatever I can to win for the team, and I think I have sure hands. The ball comes my way. I don't think this year I had a drop. And I think I'm a better blocker than a lot of times I get credit for. I think you put me in pass pro against the ends. I feel comfortable all over the field anywhere I'm in, whether I line up in the slot, whether I line up out wide, or I'm in line or in the hip. I feel comfortable in all those positions, and I feel like I can play anywhere.
It's interesting. I think a lot of guys who are receivers, they want the ball in their hands, man. I mean, but I think most of the people that talk about you, they really talk about your blocking. And so I don't know if that's necessarily, I don't know how you take that.
Right.
Because sometimes it's like, whoa, 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 hey, throw me some touchdowns here, man.
Yeah.
But like being a guy who has to have that role, like, when you're out there, how do you take that? I mean, what's your mentality as a run block?
So we had a coach, Coach Mons, he's coaching high school ball somewhere out in Pittsburgh or the West Virginia area, and his thing to us was just own the C, like own the C gap, like because tight ends that's kind of where you play. So
Mhm.
that's kind of the mentality we had. And then the years before that, we had Coach Byam, and he was in the NFL as a blocking tight end. Like that was his shtick. Third down, they're running power behind him. Like when we installed power, it was his favorite day of the year. Like so, like his saying was always get your piss out and just be the meanest and like nastiest dude you can be on the field. So in between that whistle, like I just try to go get after the guy. Like try to get the job done. Ultimately, if I move this guy out of the way, it helps us win. So
Well, hey, I mean, you got to do what you got to do whenever, whatever the play is. I mean, if the play
right,
is that power, I mean, you kind of have to just run what they give you. Um, Thomas, let's kind of look at the entirety of your career. I mean, if you don't mind. I mean, when you
let's
first
do it.
coming in there to U Albany to now, what do you feel is the biggest difference?
I think the biggest difference is just got to be the confidence I have in myself. I think when I came into U Albany, um, the first game my freshman year, I actually got to play in because there was like that 4 game rule had just come into place, and I was a second tight end when we played Pitt, and that was kind of an eye opener because I'd had one true year at tight end at prep school, and we were lucky enough that prep school year where we blew every team out and we won like the championship. So I didn't get a ton of work as being a true tight end, and we didn't have a true tight end coach at prep school. So I had a short amount of time to really get that, and there were definitely some days and some moments in my career, especially early on, where it really wasn't going my way, and I get really down on myself. Um, and I think the biggest thing that's changed too is since I've had my daughter, kind of that perspective it's given me in life that like there's bigger things than football. Because I used to just live and die with football. Like it used to be like if I had a good day in football, like I had a great day outside of it. If I had a bad day of football, like I had a bad day. Versus when I have my daughter, it's like I have a bad day. Let's say for example, like I miss every block. and I look terrible today. Like I still try hard, but I just didn't have a good day. I go home, like my daughter's just happy to see me. She's smiling. She wants to play. She doesn't care. Versus if I have two, like their games, I have 2 touchdowns, and she's just the same as happy as she has when I have 2 touchdowns when I come off the field. Versus if I have no catches and I played awful. So just like knowing that, like, oh, there's stuff outside that's bigger, and like Coach Ambrose would always tell us this year, like just play every play 6 seconds at a time. Like a play 6 seconds, once it's done, move on to the next. Good, bad, different. It's gone. It's behind you. So I think the biggest thing with that has just been my mentality and how it's changed. Like, and just being more confident in myself and trusting my abilities. And I think that's been my biggest change.
Gotcha. Thomas, you put together a really good career there at U Albany, which gave you the opportunity to get an invitation to the Ace West Shrine Bowl, man. I mean, that had to be a great honor. Talk about your experience that week. Give me some of the highlights.
Yeah, I'll definitely give you some of the highlights, and I got a low light for you too. So definitely the highlights would be growing up I found out 2 weeks before because I was originally slotted to the NFLPA. I got like a late invite to the Shrine. Was hyped, took it, jumped on it. Like, growing up a Patriots fan, being able to get coached by the Patriots was sick. Was awesome. I don't think there was a lot of kids from like the Northeast that were Pats fans. So I don't think people were as excited as I was to be like in the room with like a guy like Troy Brown. Like he like did his introduction. I was like, I know who you are, Troy Brown. Like you're a Patriots Hall of Famer. Come on now. And just being able to get coached by those coaches was awesome. The meetings were amazing. Seeing like the amount of work they put into an all-star game. Can only imagine like how much work and level of detail oriented they are like with the regular season. And also just being able to compete against some of the guys, because I think when you come out as an FCS school and a small prospect, they'll hit you with like the level of competition isn't that great. Like I feel like that's kind of like the thing that everyone. It's always a knock on the smaller school guys, like it's level of competition. So being able to go against those guys that wore the bigger name helmets on the side, I think that was definitely awesome to show that I belonged, and if not I belonged, that I was just as good, if not better than some of those players.
Right. You said you had a low light moment, right? Did you?
Yes, I did. So, like I said earlier, I was slated. I was going to go to the NFLPA. I texted my equipment manager. He had shipped my stuff out, all my equipment, to the NFLPA. So I'm packing up, and I'm a bit of an overpacker at my house. So I pack like an extra pair of busted old cleats, an extra pair of busted gloves that like didn't really have any stick to them, and then like an extra girdle and knee pads that I just like had in the house from my years of playing like football. Like just had brought the girdle. I was like just in case, but I won't ever need it. So
And
we have
all
like
that
we
stuff
land.
go to Pasadena?
Yes, all the stuff that got shipped goes to Pasadena. So it's the morning of the first practice. Of course, like the first day you're there, you land, you do all the meetings, like all the whatever physicals. Second day we had like a ton of meetings. So third day, like I'm so hyped to practice. I'm like, let's go show what we got. Like my media guy at Albany texted me, he's like, hey, send me a photo of your locker because like they're gonna have your stuff all displayed. So I go in, I get to my locker, and there's just a jersey hanging up. Like there's just the East West practice jersey. I'm like, the fuck? Like I'm looking around, I'm like these guys, like the Tennessee guys, got like everyone's got all their gear and their bags at the bottom. I'm like looking up, I'm like lifting up like the locker. I'm like, where's my? I have like 2 pairs of cleats I'm supposed to be getting. Like where are my new gloves? Where are my shoulder pads? Where's my helmet? And I walk back to the equipment manager. I'm like, hey, I think you guys forgot to put my stuff out. Like, did that happen? And he's like, just so nonchalant. He's like, yeah, no, never got here. Like you should have been notified. And I was like, what? So I'm calling my EQ guy. I'm like, hey, not answering. Does not answer.
Mm.
Come to find out, he's on a ski trip. So he wasn't answering. So I call my agent. I call my head coach. I tell him my position coach, Coach Fiocchi, who was great. So at first practice, I wore Zay Flowers shoulder pads.
Mm.
So they were like, so I actually really like Zay Flowers shoulder pads. They were nice. They were like small. I liked them. I felt like I was flying. And then I wore like a white UNLV helmet. I wore my cleats, but I didn't realize when I packed my busted old cleats that the shoelace was broken. So I couldn't tie them up all the way. So like and my gloves had like no stick to them. So I was probably better off not wearing gloves, but like you can't be out there. No, you got to wear gloves. Like, you got to wear gloves out there.
You got to try and have it as natural as possible, like how you have things on a regular basis. So I
Yeah,
get you.
exactly. So yeah. So then I called a NFLPA guy like later that night who does the equipment. I was like, hey, like, do you have my stuff? And he's like, yeah, I just found it. I'll ship it out first thing Monday morning. This was Saturday. And he's like, I'll ship it first thing on Monday morning. It'll get there Tuesday morning. And I was like, oh my, I'm not gonna have my stuff. Like I'm just not. I didn't have my stuff all week. Did not have my stuff all week. Didn't get it.
Did you play in the game at all?
No, I ended up. I wore like I got Chase Bryce was my roommate, and he gave me Appalachian State. Chase Bryce, great guy, love Chase. He gave me Appalachian State pants that I still have. Forgot to return them to him. Sorry, Chase. Um, and then my our DB coach at Albany knows the UNLV offensive coordinator, so he got me hooked up with a UNLV equipment guy who gave me like a pair of UNLV gloves and UNLV shoulder pads and another UNLV helmet, and that's just what I wore.
It's crazy. So it's like, let's just, get from here and here and here. But bro, I mean, obviously that was a mess that you had to deal with. But I mean, I'm sure you did have some moments there. I mean, probably the biggest moment being able to meet with some people. So
Oh,
did you get a
definitely.
chance to do those interviews?
Yeah, yeah. So we had interviews every day from like 2 to 5 the first 3 days, where you'd walk around into meetings these meeting rooms every hour, and we were with the running backs, the linebackers, and the tight ends. So you'd go into like this conference room of the hotel, and there'd be 4 teams in each corner, and you'd like sit down, and they would like call you out, and then be like Thomas, like over here, like with the commanders, let's say, and then you'd go, you talk to them. Some of them were like as basic as like kind of like getting background information. Like, hey, if we run a background test on you, like, are you gonna fail? And then some of them are more in depth, like, hey, let's watch film. Like explain this play. Like, what would you call it? Like, what? Some of them were like draw up this stuff. So like that was sweet to be able to sit with like teams and scouts, which is the first time I had done because they'd come to practices before in the fall, but never really got to interact with them. So being able to interact and get those was an absolute was awesome.
Cool. Well, I mean, obviously, probably the most that you got out of that week. I mean, but still, I mean, able to meet some great guys, great teammates there. So,
Right.
um, cool. So, Thomas, I know you've had a lot of great moments, throughout your journey. What's the one thing that you're going to remember the most from being a college player? Like, is there a game or a play or something that's like,
Yeah, I
that
would
you could
say
share?
yeah, of course. So my younger brother plays at Albany with me. He plays D line. Um, he was a guy that came in on half scholarship, earned himself to a full. He's been playing since a redshirt freshman. Like he was a guy that was again like under recruited, got him to Albany. So just being able to watch his development. But this year we played Central Connecticut State, and it was a fourth down. They're going for like the 30-yard line. Quarterback drops back. We get a sack. The ball's just laying there. And my brother, number 58, Joe Greaney, picks up, scoops it, runs like 77 yards back for a touchdown. And I'm on the sidelines. I'm going ballistic. He gets in the end zone. I run. I'm jumping on him. Like we go. I'm on PAT, so kick the field goal. And then like I'm just talking to him after, and just like seeing him score was awesome. Like you grow up playing with him, and like seeing all I knew how much work he's done to get to that moment. And he's a D lineman in college. Like you don't score. Like you know what I mean. So being able to watch him score and just kind of realize like, because then I end up having 2 touchdowns later in that game, and kind of realizing like after, not only we brothers that got to play in college with each other, like we got to play college football, we got to go to the same college and do it. Like I got to see him score his first collegiate touchdown and probably only because I don't think he's scoring again.
We'll see. Maybe they'll put him
Yeah,
out there on as a fullback or something. I don't
yeah,
know.
yeah, they might need to. So just that moment with him, being able to share with him, because when I come off after I score my touchdowns, like he's one of the first people to congratulate me. Like he's happy for my success, and um, just super proud of my brother and being able to share that moment with him was awesome, and is one that I'm gonna remember for the rest of my life.
Awesome. It's I mean, you gotta love those moments, man. I mean,
Right.
being able to play with your family, and celebrating that success with each other. Thomas, you've had your pro day already, right?
Yeah.
How did that go?
It went well. The 40 definitely could have been better. I didn't run a great 40. I don't remember exactly what the official was, but what wasn't up to what we wanted it to be. So I'm gonna run the 40 again at Albany, and then my short shuttle and the L cone were all good. My bench was a 16. That one I know. So it was all good. There was a lot of teams there. Yeah, it was great. I really didn't know what to expect from Pro Day because like I never went to one at Albany before seeing it. So it was we done some mocks from where I trained at, but it was fun. It was cool.
Gotcha. And just so people know, that was the Fordham Pro Day, and
Yeah,
then
yeah,
you're going to be going to another one for you Albany here soon. So
yeah. I'm gonna be Albany's is the 30th, and yeah, their pro day was held on the Columbia Indoor, which is on a soccer field. They had lightly painted football lines. It was awesome. We had a great time.
cool. So Thomas, I think you've done a lot for scouts to show them, what kind of guy they would be getting. Other than the football side of things, is there anything else about you that you feel people need to know? Like anything
Ooh.
interesting about you, or like, you know, I don't know, anything else about you that you want to share? I mean, you shared a lot about being a dad, which obviously you're very proud of. But then, if is there anything else that you're passionate, interested about? You got hobbies or something, or what?
I would say, well, I would say I was going to school. Like, if I wasn't a football player, I'd be teaching special education. That's my like that's a big passion of mine. Um, yeah, that's probably the only fun fact about me. I don't have too many fun facts. I gotta work on that. I get some hobbies. I gotta get some. Sadly, it's just my hobbies include I'm either playing football, training for it, hanging out with my daughter, or playing some Xbox. That's my time
There you
divvied up.
go. That's fair.
Yeah.
Uh, real quick, if I were to come visit you in your hometown, where would we have to go? Is there a spot there that you frequent?
Where we have to go? There's one spot that's nice because we have an Air Force base like in our town. It's connected to a couple. So there's one spot I would always go to that you can watch the planes take off. That's cool, especially in the summertime. And other than that, if you're gonna go get food, you gotta go down to Minuteman Diner in Bedford. That's where my daughter's mother, her family, runs that diner. So
Cool.
sometimes I'm lucky enough to get the friends and family discount. So
Well,
this
that's
is a no free shout outs, Minuteman Diner shout out.
all right. Well, maybe they'll hook you up a little bit now that we've mentioned them. But Thomas, I do want to wrap up our time. This has been fun, just kind of getting to know you on and off the field. Um, and as we close up shop, want you to talk to all those teams. I mean, tell them why they need to sign you, draft you, and make you a part of their program. So go ahead and close us with your pitch.
Yeah, my elevator pitch. I guess my elevator pitch to these teams would just be, you're getting a guy where his best football is ahead of him. I'm versatile. I can line up anywhere you need me on the football field. If you want me to throw a pass, I'll throw a pass. Um, I'm the most competitive person I know. I'll do whatever it takes to win. If NFL team took me and said, "Hey, you have to be the janitor and scrub toilets for a year," I would have no problem scrubbing a toilet. All I want to do is just affect football in a positive way and help my team win. Um, yeah, come draft me. I'm here. Not
Gotcha.
going
Well,
anywhere.
Um, definitely a guy who's grown a lot over the years, grown into the position, owned the position, knows how to, be a good receiver, and also be somebody who is, unselfish, going out there and blocking some people, and giving them the business when you get a chance. So, Thomas, I wish you all the best with your endeavors, and I guess thanks for the interview.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Sure. Again, check out Thomas Greaney. He's a tight end out of Albany. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.